identified 119 organizations that could be relevant for this mapping, and we mailed them and called them, etc. And we got 59 of these organizations answered our mapping, which was an online survey with 60 questions. And 41 of these organizations are in the analysis I'm going to present now to you. The reason that some are not in the analysis is we used some criteria to decide who's going to be in the analysis at this stage. So first of all, it's organizations that employ artists. So it's not organizations that work with only artistic methods, for instance, but really employ artists. It's organizations that provide process support. So meaning it's not artists working themselves, but it's the organization that provides the support. That could also be an artist, but it's the other role in the intervention. And the third criteria we used is that it's organizations, or producers that work with organizations. So not directly with, for instance, public, or if you talk about healthcare, not directly with patients, but with the people working in the healthcare. So we have 41 producers in the analysis. And these producers are spread over Europe in this way. As you can see, we have a good coverage of Western Europe. And the one in the box, it's Australia. We included Australia for comparison. Yeah, you could. I first thought that was Iceland, but then I put a box around it. So the producers start. The question is, when did you start acting as a producer of artistic interventions? And we have, ranging from 1974 up until last year, you can see that there is an increase of producers in the last years, but it's not an explosion in any way. And maybe also it's a normal trend because maybe producers don't live that long, so we don't know. What are your objectives in conducting artistic interventions? And this is a question to the producer. Why do you do this? So we asked them to rank these three objects, these three possible objectives. Development of organization, the organization or development of the employees, or the development of the artist and her skills. And the first priority that most producers answered is the organization. And as a second priority, the majority chose employees, meaning that artists and artists' skills is the lowest priority ranking with this ranking. What are your objectives? Again, same question, different objects to prioritize. Is it a contribution to society, art creation, or work opportunities for artists? And in this section, the vast majority answered society as a first priority and work opportunities for artists as a second priority. So art creation is the lowest of the objectives for producers. We asked them in which kind of organizations they work, and as you can see, they work in all sectors, private, public, and non-profit. And 25 stated that they work with all of them. And this question is related to where, which sector do you realize artistic interventions? And the biggest answer was in local authorities and creative industries and education. And manufacturing was the lowest answer. which reveals where the experience of producers so far is. But we also got interesting answers to an open-end question, so people could fill in if there was another sector that we didn't provide them. And we got quite a few answers here on services, banking, energy, transportation, and legal. But yeah, I don't have the numbers for that, but several answers added these sectors. The length of the projects. The most common answer into these intervals that we established is between 1 week and 3 months, and between 4 and 12 months. So these are quite, you would say, rather long projects, but it's quite a vast, quite a wide range. So we would need to, yeah, if we wanted to know more, we would have to go into further divisions here. So this is a little bit about the operations of the producer. Which kinds of support do you provide during the collaboration? And we listed different types of support, and 8 of the answers, 8 of the producers said that they do all of these. But what stands out most for the rest is to provide a framework to structure the process and to help specify the focus of the project, which sometimes has to do with defining a focus of the project which is equally interesting for the organization and for the artist. We also have help solving practical problems and monitor progress, are common things to do. So it's actually it's a part in the project that helps the project run smoothly. Yeah, and then we turned our attention to the clients of the producers. So we asked them, what are the reasons organizations want to engage in the artistic interventions you produce? So this is obviously not directly answers from the organizations, but it's the answer of the producers, which will have a knowledge of their market, of course, but it also tells us how they profile themselves, or what's their strategy, maybe a little bit. And this question we divided into 4 sections: research and development, organizational culture, art, and market and society. So the most frequently quoted as a first priority for organizations to enter artistic interventions is within the research and development section, new methods or processes for the organization. And on the second level, we have things from the organizational culture segment, which are related to creativity in the organization, change management, and motivation. In the less frequently quoted is the art section, and artwork production is usually not so highly interesting for organizations. But on the other hand, development of artistic processes is not a very high, but it stands out a little bit, meaning that actually producers do communicate art, that this is actually artistic processes, and not just any other service, but it's important to communicate the art side. In the least quoted section is the market and society, where employer branding is low and visibility for the organization is low, and that is maybe a little surprising because we've quoted this before here today, corporate social responsibility. Because often when we talk about collaborations between the art world and organizations, that's often what the first thing that comes to mind is the visibility or the branding. And in fact, producers say that this is quite low as a priority. So this shows that there is an increasing understanding from organizations about the value of art for research and development and in the organizational culture, specifically in relation to creativity and change, flexibility, and motivation. And there are some more answers in this report. It's a 50 pages report, and you can download it. You don't have it in your folders, but there is a summary as well, one-page summary. But for the interested one, you can download this. And we also try to communicate these results in this folder you got. And this image is to describe the context of arts and business, arts and organizations rather, and where Creative Clash is focused. We're focused on interventions of, and though they are in the two tallest buildings here. We're talking about intervention programs for strategic reflection, change, innovation, and also training of skills and creativity, as we mentioned before. So it's the processes where organizations rethink who they are, what they're doing. That's what we want to communicate with this image. And this image to illustrate the role of the producer, which starts in understanding the three clouds here, the driving forces of the artist, the changes in society taking place, and the opportunities or needs of organizations, and then bring them together to create a new space of interaction where these can collaborate on equal terms, and then support the process, and then reflect on what has happened, reflect on change, reflect on learning, in order to provide input again to develop further both society, organizations, and the artistic sector. Yeah. Again, as I mentioned, 59 organizations answered the mapping, but out of these, 58 said that they would really like to be part of an association for producers of artistic interventions. And I'm going to hand over the word to Pia. Tell me, what can we do with this?
What can we do with this? It took this